A little over a month ago now, Mojang held an in-game event for Minecraft Bedrock Edition to coincide with the release of the Mounts of Mayhem drop. During the event, if a player killed 5 mobs using the brand new spear item while in survival mode, they'd be rewarded with the brand new zombie horse cape. At least they were supposed to. After completing this mission on December 13th, which was within the time frame laid out by the event, I was not given the cape. Now at first I thought maybe Mojang was just being a bit slow. After all, they did say that capes would take up to 30 days to be applied to a player's account. Well, here we are 30 days later, and my account, funnydude1562, still does not have the zombie cape that I should have earned. I think it's time to make a video on this new cape system. I'm generally not a fan of the Minecraft bad genre of videos online, because I feel like most of them are either extremely repetitive or miss the point of the game. So before getting into this, I want to make it clear that this isn't just a hate video for the sake of it, but rather criticism so they can improve their cape system later down the line. And yes, I am salty I didn't get my cape. Now I also want to use this video to talk about my thoughts on the cape system as a whole. There are a lot of positives, and the negatives also go deeper than them just not giving out the capes. Obviously, if that was my only critique, this would be a much shorter video. I'll start by going over the more positive stuff before really getting into the major problems and how I think they should be fixed near the end. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. So first I want to begin with the criticism that I have heard the most regarding capes in recent years. Ever since the Migrator cape was introduced back in 2020, people have had the fear that Mojang was making capes far too common. Capes used to be extremely rare, only being given to players who went to Minecon, worked at Mojang, or if they really liked turtles. I was very close to making an I Like Turtles edit in the big 2026.
You're so old. Where's your wife? Go home to your family, dude.
But with the introduction of the Migrator cape, it was now significantly easier for the average player to have a cape. And of course since then, Mojang has continued to add even more capes as rewards for completing limited time events, most of which don't even require the player to leave their house. I mean, how else do you think I got so many? So the criticism people have is basically that Mojang is taking the rarity away from capes by making them too common. However, I completely disagree with this being an issue. Yes, the concept of having a cape period is less rare, but that doesn't make the individual capes any less rare. If I stumble upon someone who has an old Minecon cape, I'll still think that's just as cool as it was before. That's thanks to each cape for every event getting its own unique design. If Mojang were to re-release old capes, then yes, I would agree that takes away the value from them. But in my eyes, the way it currently works is great, as it now allows the more common player to mess around with the feature while still letting others flex their more specialized capes. I know that when I was younger, I was obsessed with getting a cape, so much so that one of the very few mods I have ever downloaded was one that let me look like I had a cape on. The design of the cape was basically just a diamond on a black background, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I was right, Mojang had the diamond cape. The fact that we are getting a ton of new capes now also means there's a higher chance that one may work better with a certain player's skin. Custom capes are something Mojang obviously can't do, as that would lead to people remaking the old cape, so providing more options themselves is probably the best solution. And plus, even under this more common cape system, they do still release the occasional rare cape. Attending the real-life Minecraft experience event would also be able to reward players with a cape, and since that requires going outside, it's on a similar level of rarity to the old Minecon capes. So overall, I would say that I'm not only perfectly fine with Mojang releasing more capes, I actually think it's a good thing that lets more people have fun without taking the special status away from older accounts. Now that I've established that I like there being more capes, let's get to a piece of criticism that I'm a bit more mixed on. So far, pretty much every cape released has been tied to some sort of limited time event. The Copper cape was obtainable for a bit after the Copper Age drop, the Minecraft movie capes were available around the time of the movie, Steve, and so on. In general, I'm not a fan of limited time events when it comes to games. Whenever I play a video game, I like to be able to go at my own pace. For example, instead of having to play Mario Odyssey specifically on June 23rd, 2026 to unlock the Mario 64 outfit on the 30th anniversary, it's nice that the costume is just in the game forever so I can buy it at my own leisure. I'm a pretty busy person, and there are definitely people that are more busy than me, so it can be pretty hard to find time to play games. Having these limited time events can make it feel more like a chore to play the game, since you're forced to do it at a specific time or else lose the cape forever. But with all that being said, it's really hard to call this a Minecraft problem when it's something that's been taking over the entire gaming industry. Many of the most popular games, especially mobile and multiplayer titles, have these limited time events running constantly, because that's how they have to stay relevant in the internet landscape. Our attention spans now are tiny. I mean, most people watching this video are probably playing another game at the same time. Heck, I'm probably editing this while listening to a FNAF theory or something. In order to stay relevant in a landscape like this, games need to keep jingling a new set of keys in front of their player base to keep them coming back. That's probably a big part as to why Mojang switched to the drop system instead of updates. So now, just as your attention may be starting to move to a different game, they hit you with the
Ooh, you want to see the new baby chicken so badly.
But the drop system doesn't have the same urgency as a limited time event, because they're in the game forever and you can always experience them whenever you want. The limited time cape events, on the other hand, force the players to return at a specific time, or else they'll lose that cape forever. I can see why that would be very stressful for some, but I also don't think it's something that can really be helped. At this point, I play several games all about daily systems, and I'm sure many of you all have as well, so until those systems stop working, I doubt we'll be seeing a change. If anything were to be tied to limited time events, I am at least happy with it being cosmetic items like capes. Many other games force actual gameplay features and characters to be locked behind limited time windows, so in comparison, Minecraft is a lot less stressful. Plus, I'd say the pace of the cape events so far have been pretty alright, only really showing up every couple of months, so we aren't under a constant cycle of FOMO. Oh yeah, for anyone new to the stream, FOMO stands for fear of missing out. I also don't really have a ton of ideas for how they could do capes reasonably without them being limited time releases. I mean, part of a cape's charm is the feeling of being in the game for a certain point in its history. However, it could maybe be cool to have a few permanent capes for completing really difficult challenges, like beating the game in hardcore mode without cheats, or maybe beating the game under a specific time limit. But I think the limited time event structure is fine. Obviously not ideal, but it's the current landscape, and as long as they give enough time to do the events, I don't have too big of an issue. Uh-oh. Yeah, so now it's time we get into some of the more specific issues that plagued the recent Zombie Horse cape. The first of which is the fact that they did not give nearly enough time for this event. Of the common capes, it's been by far the shortest amount of time we've had to complete the event and collect the cape. As far as I can tell, the Zombie Horse cape was announced on December 12th and the event ended the morning of December 15th, only giving us a little over 3 days to do it. Now, there's no right amount of time for a limited event like this, but I think most people would agree that only giving the players 3 days to log on is a bit absurd. Not only does less days mean less chances for busy players to log on, but also less chance of them even hearing about it. Like I said, as far as I can tell, the event was announced the day it started. Most casual players probably didn't even get a chance to hear of this cape's existence until it was already gone. Plus, it especially doesn't help that this event was held right in the middle of final season, so several players were probably too busy studying to know it existed. L for those nerds.
Oh wait, I don't have the cape either.
The solution to this issue is simple. Don't make the events tiny for literally no reason. Even though the requirements to get the cape are super quick when you do manage to get in the game, this tiny time window just prevents players who may have wanted the cape from getting it due to not hearing about the event or reasonably being unable to go onto Minecraft due to work. I don't really understand why this was done either, because the other capes have been much better in this regard. I mean, the cape we got before this, the copper cape, gave us an entire week along with being announced 2 weeks in advance. So essentially, you had 3 weeks to hear about the event and participate in it compared to the pitiful 3 days of the zombie cape. The level of challenge for each one of these is also basically the same, with the copper cape just requiring you to place a golem on bedrock. The zombie cape being shortened by so much comparatively made the event both a lot more stressful and confusing to a lot of people. I see absolutely no reason why Mojang can't just stick to the copper event length of time, as I think 3 weeks from announcement to the end of the event is much better. But you know what's even more stressful than a short event? Not getting the cape at all! This is where we move away from more opinionated issues to things that are almost objectively bad. Even the 3-day-long event issue could be defended by saying, you should be terminally online and chained to Minecraft. If you can't do that, you don't deserve a cape. Yes, I do get shoved into lockers at school, what of it? So the biggest issue I have with the cape events is that someone can hear about the event on time, do what they believe is correct to earn the cape, and still not get it. From what I've heard, this has been a problem for both the Zombie Horse cape and the Copper cape events. There have been numerous reports of players doing the required task on Bedrock Edition and just never getting their cape. Now, I can't verify how true the Copper cases are since I got that cape through a code instead, but I'm inclined to believe those players are telling the truth from my own personal experience with this latest event. In response to people being upset about this online, they will often get comments telling them that they did the event wrong in some way. Honestly, that may be true. Some players may have indeed messed up while doing these challenges. But regardless of if the player did it right or wrong, it is still absolutely the fault of Mojang. I mean, first, the most obvious thing we can say is that it's a clarification issue. Let's use the Zombie Horse cape event as an example. The requirements for this, as stated by Mojang in their post, is to kill 5 mobs with the spear in survival mode on Bedrock Edition. Seems seems simple enough, right? Well, I did exactly that, so where's my cape? Assuming that I did do it wrong, I can only imagine that there was some caveat that they didn't really explain. I've seen a bunch of different answers online as to what this caveat might have been. Maybe it had to be a world that was started in survival, and it couldn't be one where you went to creative mode to get a spear and went to survival after. Maybe the world had to have commands disabled, so even if you started in survival and did the challenge, you would still not get it. Maybe the mobs had to be hostile instead of random innocent farm animals you saw on the surface. Maybe this had to be specifically in single player and multiplayer worlds wouldn't work. I don't know which of these caveats are true or if any of them are. Everyone online has been giving completely mixed reports on what was actually required, so all I do know is that I don't have this cape despite doing exactly what was outlined on Mojang's post. If I did actually do it wrong, then they seriously need to work on clarifying the event's details. But you know what's better than being pretty sure you did it right? Knowing for sure that you did it right. The absolute most baffling part about the zombie horse cape event was the lack of feedback immediately after doing the challenge. If you didn't participate in this cape event, I'm sure you all are asking why I didn't try other things when I didn't get my cape upon completion. Well, dear viewer, that's because Mojang didn't notify, from what I can tell, a single player that they earned the cape until after the event ended. After you speared 5 mobs to death, the game would tell you literally nothing. Even if you did it right, you had to stressfully wait until after the event was over to verify if you were actually in the clear. If you did it wrong, not only did you have to stressfully wait, but by the time you knew you messed something up, it was too late to redo the challenge. This is objectively a horrible system, and I do not think there is any way to defend this. If Mojang is going to continue to do these bedrock cape events, they need to provide the player with some sort of immediate feedback when they complete the challenge. Not only would that be less stressful for the players that did it right, but it would give players who legitimately want the cape a chance to try again, in case they misunderstood Mojang's frankly vague directions. I don't know the specifics of how difficult it is to add a cape onto someone's account, so if that takes up to 30 days, that's fine. But only if Mojang sends out a notification message saying the cape is on the way during the event. I can't imagine that it's difficult for them to do at all, and if it is somehow impossible to send out a notification immediately when a player completes a challenge, then Mojang should not continue to make capes exclusively earned through normal bedrock worlds. That's not to say they should stop giving out capes at all though. Like I said, I got my copper cape through a code from watching a live stream. As far as I can tell, nobody has had any issues with code related capes. They might be out there, but I personally haven't seen it. My suggestion to you all watching is if Mojang continues to do these bedrock events, but there is an option to get a code elsewhere, go for the code because that is much more reliable. Mojang have also created a few special event servers like they did with the MCC cape, which in my experience also gave immediate feedback when it was all complete and didn't make me worry that I somehow messed it up. Now those servers do have issues of their own, like being incredibly buggy, especially with the textures, but that might just be a case of my computer being bad, so I won't blame Mojang too hard for that. I think these servers work so much better though than the vague bedrock missions we've gotten for the previous 2 capes. They make it very clear what needs to be done and if you've done it. And again, as far as I've seen, there haven't been any complaints, or at least nearly as many, about people properly doing the events and not getting their reward. So in my eyes, I think Mojang really has 2 options here. Either make the capes tied to just server events and codes, since those seem to work just fine, or add immediate feedback when a player completes a cape challenge in a standard bedrock world. It's honestly a bit shocking it's not already like that, especially since the zombie horse cape is now the 2nd time this has happened. Mojang really needs to get on fixing this quickly, because if the cape system remains broken, it's going to discourage a lot of people from trying events in the future. If it doesn't do that, it's just going to upset people who wanted the capes and did the event, but still didn't get them. Luckily for this cape, I'm just mildly annoyed rather than extremely upset. The zombie horse cape is honestly my least favorite common cape they've released so far, and even if I got it, I'd probably never use it. Or maybe I'm just coping. But that's why I need them to get on fixing this right now. If they release a cape design that I do really love, but I don't get it because of this horribly broken bedrock system, I'm going to be extremely upset. That would also make me less inclined to try and get the other ones in the future, because if I missed a cape I actually care about, I'm gonna feel a lot less desire to complete the cape collection. As of right now, this cape system is completely broken, but it's absolutely fixable. To do so, Mojang has to do preferably 3 things. 1. Ensure that the player knows for 100% certainty that they completed the challenge during the time of the event. 2. While not essential, it would be nice to have lengths of time closer to the copper cape to complete the challenges rather than the 3 days the zombie horse got. And 3. give me the diamond cape, it would be really cool. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you have serious beef with the Eye Blossom cape and hate me for not mentioning it? Let me know in the comments. I really hope Mojang is able to fix this in time for the next cape event. I really don't think it should be too difficult, and it would make the player base feel a whole lot better about the whole thing. For now though, I'll just sit sad knowing that I missed out on one of the capes and can never get it again. But before I go, I've got to thank my members, being Zach Pro, Young Smokey VP_7, Flame765, Raven X Scarf, Peanut Brown of Gallery, Fredbear's Diner, Gorpasaurus, Extreme 5026, BFDI Macaron, The Ender Kirby, Maidzio2, Stephen Hafner, Mikey711, Bell Slimes, Night Vision 101, PDX, Wilbur, Knight, Jenny, Triple Double, Bleep3454, Mogo Mogo Boat, Stuffy Ant, Rich229, Jehojim, Linhard Vom Hevering, Magnus and Larslot, Trifector, Tibby, Mario Master 101, Hippopotamus, Levi Strux, Nuclear, Cassie Channel, Blessed Tiger, Yanni the Duck, Wyatt Derpy, Trader Mo, Mevins 2001, Display Changer, SMA, B Major 2003, Sir Musty, Belandor, Cinder CC, Jade Avery, Thicky Reiki, Engineo TM, CW McCain, Tesseract, JubeTube, Jameson Pageson, Zfrost, Keep, and Christian Flattery Sequel Edition. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.